Hi guys, I hope you're all really well. If you enjoyed this video, please click like. Please do remember there is a coffee account underneath, and please by all means let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video. It does really make my day. So this is a homework video for a lot of the students that I'm working with at the moment. It's also a continuation of a video that was called Explaining Red, Blue and Green. So to be brutally honest with you, I really strongly recommend that you do watch that video first. If you've not seen that video, I'm not saying you won't get anything out of this video, but that would be great. So this is a kind of clever continuation development of some of the things that we did in the red, blue and green video. And it's particularly talking about two exceptions to the 15 core sentences that we sort of learn, or I teach you to be able to master verbs in most situations. Okay, so off we go. So as per red, blue and green, very quickly, let's very quickly explain again. I'm going quite quickly over this material because it is in the red, blue and green video. I will link it underneath, but just so you've got it, I will go over it again very quickly. Then I will talk about the specific exceptions that I'm going to be bringing up today, which is when de is meaning from, and when you are dealing with a human being and how that changes things. Okay, so they're the two exceptions that we're going to specifically talk about. So, like I said, this is not a terminology that you will find anywhere else. I'm not bigging myself up by that. I'm just saying it's a way that I work with these verbs that I think really helps people. But it's not, if you went and Googled this, something that you will find. So what we are using is, I'd like you to write down this little sequence. I'd actually like you to write that down. My students would keel over because I never ask people to write or visualize. I ask you to listen. But this is actually quite useful. So write down subject, object, object, subject, subject, object, pronoun, or if you like, subject, object in brackets, that's fine, parentheses, what as a question, so you can write what and a question mark, what and a non-question. So subject, object, object, subject, subject, object in brackets, or subject, object, pronoun, what with a question, what with a non-question. And we're going to do those 5 times, 3 times the 5, okay? So red, green, blue, etc. Let's explain. A green theme is when the verb that you are using in its specific relationship with the object is going to not have a de or an a, or a preposition generally. So if I say, for example, I eat the cake, I think is the one that I normally teach with. Je mange le gâteau. If you look at mange, you go straight across to le gâteau. Je mange le gâteau. There's no je mange a, there's no je mange de. So it's a basic verb. We're going to call this a green for go. So je mange le gâteau. So every other arrangement that you're now going to play with in your green is basically looking at a verb arrangement where the verb and its object don't have any a or de involved. So subject, object, the subject part is who is doing the verb. So that's going to be the subject and then the verb. And the object part is what the verb is being done to. Okay? So I touch my head, I am the subject, my head is the object, okay? And be very clear when we're working in French, because often that will confuse you, because an object will make you think of a thing as opposed to a human being. And I get that that's confusing. So you'll be like, is it a thing or is it an object? Blah, blah, blah. So I eat the cake, je mange le gâteau. Object, subject is when we swap it around, okay? We swap it around. So the cake that I eat, le gâteau que je mange. Okay, as per the relative pronouns video, as per the relative pronouns podcasts, all of which are available, email me, email address underneath. So, je mange le gâteau, subject, object, object, subject, le gâteau que je mange. I eat it, je le mange. We're going to have le, la or les. We're going to have a gendered word for the. So, je le mange masculine, je la mange feminine, je les mange plural. We could, with a green verb, borrow an en. We could borrow an en, which we're going to see in the red. So for the more advanced of you, I eat some, j'en mange. I eat one of them, whatever, j'en mange un. Okay, but largely in the green section, le, la, les. Then we go into what as a question. So let's say, what are you eating? Qu'est-ce que tu manges? Tu manges quoi? Quoi at the end of the sentence, or que manges-tu? There's 3 main methods for that. And to be honest with you, for this purpose, I'd like you to use qu'est-ce que. It's a little bit better for your purposes right now. So qu'est-ce que tu manges? And then the fifth one is what when it's not a question, which requires another verb. It requires somebody else to be doing another verb. So you know what, or I know what you're eating, or what you're eating is fabulous. It always needs another verb elsewhere. Is what as a non-question. So I know what you're eating. Je sais ce que tu manges. So quick reminder of the greens. Je mange le gâteau. Let's say tu manges le gâteau. Le gâteau que tu manges. Tu le manges, depending which gender it is. Qu'est-ce que tu manges? Je sais ce que tu manges. Let's come on to the reds. So previously you have been taught to remember this sentence. Let's say, should we use je parle de la situation? So I speak about the situation. You will now notice that there is a de sitting between the verb parle, je parle, sorry, de la situation. Did I say je pense? Je parle de la situation. There's a de sitting in the middle of the sentence now. So that means we are in red territory. All right? So je parle de la situation. Object subject means we start with the situation, so the situation I'm talking about. Notice in English this would require us to end in a preposition. In modern parlance, the subject, the situation I'm talking about, and in more elegant English, the subject about which I'm talking. When we reverse a de, classically in red, we have a dans. So je parle de la situation dont je parle. Keep an eye out for irregulars in just a moment. I talk about it, j'en parle. Okay, so when we have an it, or a them, or any kind of pronoun in the red section, the word will be en. We will not use le, la, les. We cannot use anything from the green section in the middle section. Question, what are you talking about? Tu parles de quoi? We keep the de, we go quoi on the end, or de quoi tu parles, or de quoi parles-tu? So we're going to need de quoi. Our what, when it's not a question and the verb is red, will be ce dont. So, I know what you're talking about. Je sais ce dont tu parles. Slangy French will say de quoi tu parles, but je sais ce dont tu parles. So our 5 on the red were, tu parles de la situation dont tu parles, tu en parles, tu parles de quoi? Je sais ce dont tu parles. I will go again in the red with a different verb, so I need the cream, he needs the cream. Il a besoin de la crème dont il a besoin, il en a besoin, il a besoin de quoi? Je sais ce dont il a besoin. Okay, I will come up with an exception to that in just a moment. I'm then going to go on to the blue, which is any verb using an a with an accent going into the object. So, je pense à la situation. You're reversed, so object, subject, the situation I'm thinking of, the situation to which I'm thinking in French, is where you will need classically what I refer to as Auntie Lukey's 5-point star. And that is when you reverse a situation with a preposition, so with whom, with which, to whom, to which, about whom, about which, all of this business, unless you are using de. So I'm going to take this opportunity now to talk about the exception. When you use de to mean from, you're going to do the situation I'm about to explain, as you would with any other preposition. When you use de to mean about or of, so about whom, about which, of whom, of which, you're going to use the word dont in this part of the sentence. Any other preposition, it's what I call, I previously explained it, Auntie Lukey's 5-point star. So you're going to need the preposition that you're discussing, so à, de, avec, sans, pour, yada, yada, plus qui for human being. Then you have your masculine, feminine, plural, plural. Lequel, laquelle, lesquels, lesquels. So, pour qui, pour lequel, pour laquelle, pour lesquels, pour lesquels. Avec qui, avec lequel, avec laquelle, avec lesquels, avec lesquels, avec lesquels. So, with whom, qui, masculine thing, avec lequel, feminine thing, avec laquelle, avec lesquels, avec lesquels. Obviously, with your à and de, à qui, to whom, to which, à and lequel will join and make auquel, à and laquelle will stay where they are, auquel, auquel. Obviously with de, the same thing, from which, so from whom, de qui, de and lequel will make duquel, de and laquelle will be de laquelle, desquels, desquels. So this is all revision material so far because we've done this in the other red, green, blue video. So when we get to our standard classic blue, we need to know the gender. So je pense à la situation à laquelle, because it's feminine. If it were I think of the project, I'm thinking the project, je pense au projet, le projet auquel je pense. I'm interested in the situation, je m'intéresse à la situation. La situation à laquelle je m'intéresse. He's signing himself up to, what should we say? The project again, we'll go with the same thing. So, il s'inscrit au projet, le projet auquel il s'inscrit. We would then have, he thinks about it, il y pense, he's signing up to it, il s'y inscrit. So to remind you that the pronoun form, so we've had subject, object, object, subject, subject, object, pronoun, in blue will be the letter Y. So, il pense à la situation à laquelle il pense, il y pense. What is he thinking of? Il pense à quoi? So the same as in your red, you will keep the de or the a and you will add a quoi on the end. Let's be very clear. There is not one version of these 15 that is identical, but the quoi will repeat, but differently. In your green, you could have had quoi as one of your options for saying what. So what are you eating? Tu manges quoi? In your red, you need what? Tu as besoin de quoi? You're talking about what? Tu parles de quoi? But there's that de and the quoi. So they're not identical, are they? You're thinking of what? In the blue, tu penses à quoi? You're signing up to what? What are you signing up to? Tu t'inscris à quoi? You're interested in what? Tu t'intéresses à quoi? The quoi is there, but it's on the end of an a. And then we're going to use this à quoi again in our what when it's not a question in the blue. So I know what you're interested in. Je sais ce à quoi tu t'intéresses. So all in all then, greens will go nothing, le l'aller, que, qu'est-ce que is our main one, ce que. Reds will go de in the middle, dans for reverse, en for pronoun, de quoi for the question, ce dont for the non-question. À will go, à in the middle, à qui, auquel, à laquelle, auquel for the reverse, y for the pronoun, à quoi for the question, and ce à quoi for the non-question. Let's quickly make sure that we have spoken about the two main exceptions, or rather the two main extensions. So the extension, like I said, when you use from. So most verbs that I teach you where de bounces on the end. Now I'm not on about essayer de. Yeah, I'm not on about all of those verbs where you guys have taught yourself it's going to need a de. Like, is it continuer à or continuer de? You'll notice that a lot of verbs that use à and de, what we're talking about, do right underneath if this point makes sense, is when you use à and de to then go into a verb. So for example, I'm going to try to dance, even with my bad legs. Je vais essayer de danser. I'm going to continue dancing. Je vais continuer à danser. I'm going to stop horse riding because I can't do it anymore. Je vais arrêter de faire de l'équitation. So yes, there's de and à with those verbs, but we're on about where de and à link to the object, the thing. So for example, if you said, I'm going to try the cake, there's no de or à there. Je vais essayer le gâteau. So, je vais essayer le gâteau. That's a green, isn't it? Because essayer, le gâteau. Le gâteau que je vais essayer. Je vais le essayer. Je vais l'essayer. Qu'est-ce que je vais essayer? I know what you're going to try. Je sais ce que tu vas essayer. So that would all be a green. So when I say de and à with a verb, can we be really clear that I mean de and à linking to an object? A thing, if you will, or a person even, not a verb. Then, like I said, all of these videos that often talk about these ABCs and all these things that I teach you, like s'intéresser à or s'occuper de and all of this business, when you have a verb that uses a de with an object, so for example, se débarrasser de, s'occuper de, any of these clever ones, I can guarantee you the de will work with the don, D-O-N-T. It will work with the mission, it will work with the method that I've just given you in the red. When de means from, you'll know about it. So for example, I received a letter from the girl. J'ai reçu une lettre de la fille. We have de in the middle. And we have an object after it. So you might go, oh, well, it's going to be what we've just done in the red. De here means from. If de here means from, you are going to do your de work like you've just done the 5-point star. I shall say that again. If de means from in your sentence, use the 5-point star method, not the don method. So that means de qui, de lequel, duquel, de laquelle, de laquelle, de lesquels, desquels, de lesquels, desquels. Yeah? L-E-S-Q-U-E-L-S becomes D-E-S, etc. Q-U-E-L-S, D-E-S, Q-U-E-L-L-E-S. So, for example, I received a letter from the girl. J'ai reçu une lettre de la fille. La fille, from whom... No, let's use an object one. Let's use the which. Okay? So, that's combining both of our problems. Both of our problems are going to be when we have a human being and when we have a from. So, let's stick for a moment to a non-human being. So, let's say, I've received a response from the department. So, j'ai reçu une réponse du département. So that's our sentence. It originally has a de in it. We're in a red sentence. But we can't go with dans because de means from. So the department from which I've received a response, le département duquel, not dans, because we've got a de meaning from. I received a response from it, from them. Strictly speaking in French, one can use an elle and a lui from an it if it's after a preposition, de lui, d'elle. But we just more commonly say from them, de. We wouldn't say the en. We wouldn't make a pronoun out of the people there. So I received a response from them, from it. You know, j'ai reçu une réponse de lui, de, whatever, de ce département, but we wouldn't sort of say, j'en ai reçu une réponse. We wouldn't use the on that we've previously been using in the red, all right? Likewise, if we went to the third one, so, so if we say, for example, you speak about the woman, you speak about the department, tu parles du département. What are you speaking about? Tu parles de quoi? And if your original sentence was using a from, you received a letter from where it would more likely be. You received a letter from whom. Tu as reçu une réponse, une lettre de qui. You know, it wouldn't be duquel, it wouldn't be any of this business. So again, notice how when you're using de as a from, it kind of casts, it kind of throws a stone into the lake and makes a few ripples. Likewise, so who did you just receive a letter from? De qui tu as reçu une lettre? From whom have you received a letter? Yeah, d'où tu as reçu une lettre? D'où you received a letter from where? So you're going to make the more obvious choices and you're going to break the 15. We'll talk about the people in just a moment. If you had I know who you received a letter from. Je sais de qui, from whom you received a letter. So we won't be using ce dont or any of the stuff that we've normally used in the red. So really, going through it, if your de is being activated to mean from, you pretty much jettisoning, apart from de on the top line, the subject and the object, you're not going to be using. You're not going to be using it in the same way. Let's talk about another thing. I'm running out of energy. I can see I've got energy. I'm running out of battery. I've got about 3% left. We'll hopefully get this done. It might be a two-parter. The next exception I wanted to talk about. You can go through all three sections, so green, red and blue, if you've got a person. So sometimes in French, having a person and being a person and a chest of drawers is exactly the same French. Other times it's not. And this is what I told my guys to do their homework on. So let's just look at the first one. So I eat the cake, je mange le gâteau que je mange, la mange, je les mange, whatever. Qu'est-ce que je mange? Qu'est-ce que tu manges? Je sais ce que tu manges. Let's say we had a person. So let's say I know Phil. Je connais Phil. Okay? If the next one was I know him, je le connais. It's going to resemble the cake. Phil is like the cake. Yeah? Je le connais. Yeah? Like the cake. It's going to be the same as number 2 on the previous green. The guy that I know, le mec ou le garçon que je connais. Sorry, I believe I did that as number 2 the first time. That's going to work in the same way. So far, with the green, being a human being hasn't changed how we do it. So, je mange le gâteau, je connais l'homme, je connais le mec, je connais la personne. I know, I eat it, je le mange, I know him, je le connais. It's working the same way. The guy that I know, le gars, le mec que je connais, the cake that I eat, le gâteau que je mange. It's working the same way so far. What are you eating? Qu'est-ce que tu manges? You're not going to say qu'est-ce que for a person, are you? So if it's like who do you know, either tu connais qui est-ce que tu connais? Yeah, you know which person. Tu connais quelle personne? You're going to break ranks with the 15 questions. All right. This is what this video is about. Times that we don't stick religiously to that 15. So who do you know? Tu connais qui? Who is it that you know? Qui est-ce que tu connais? If you're interested in how to ask French questions generally, if you go into my channel, you type logic language learning space questions, a shed load of videos comes up, a plethora, a myriad, word of last week, a myriad of videos or myriad videos pop up. If you went into the bottom one, so question when it's not a question, so the word what when it's not a question. So I know who you know. Je sais la personne que tu connais, I know the person that you know, or je sais qui tu connais, you know, whatever. Again, it would break it. Yeah, so those obvious. So, you know, je connais le mec que je connais, the guy that I know, je le connais. Qui est-ce que tu connais? Moi, je sais qui tu connais. Moi, je connais la personne que tu connais. Not the same as the original 5 with a non-person. Come into the red with a person. So let's use de. So you talk about the girl. Tu parles de la fille. The girl you talk about. La fille dont tu parles. So far, that is looking like our original red, isn't it? You talk about her. We don't want to be using en and e for people, really. We want to be using alternatives. So you talk about, I'll talk a little bit more about this another time, but you want to be avoiding en and e as people generally, as a general rule of safety. So if you say you talk about her, rather than saying tu en parles, as we've done previously with the, the red situation, tu parles d'elle. And you might go, Luke, that doesn't really offer a lot of a shortcut, but that's fine. So you need the man, tu as besoin de l'homme. You need him, tu as besoin de lui. So it's still a pronoun because you're not saying the actual noun of the man, but it's just going to go on the end. Yeah? So tu as besoin d'elle, you need her, you talk about her, tu parles d'elle, rather than tu en parles. Subject-wise, I went out with a guy last night, I'm going to talk to you about it. Je vais en parler. Of course you can use the en. But I'm going to talk to you about him, alors je vais te parler de lui, rather than je vais t'en parler. The en would be like the subject matter rather than the person. It's just a bit better French to do that. Again, the bottom one, so I know what you're talking about. If you meant thematically the whole thing, and you know, this guy, whatever, that you've seen, you know, I'm not seeing anybody, but like, yeah, let's just say hypothetically. So I know who you're talking about. Moi, je sais de qui tu parles. Rather than ce dont tu parles, which you could do, but that would be I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, the subject. I know who you're talking about. Je sais de qui tu parles. Yeah? So notice again with a person, that will ever so slightly modify the red. Let's look at the blue. I'm thinking of him. Je pense à lui. Yes, pretty much constantly. I'm thinking of him, not j'y pense. So let's do the first one. So I'm thinking of the guy, you know, je pense au mec, je pense à l'homme, whatever. So your a and then the noun is going to work in the same way as your normal blue. I'm thinking of him. So you've been taught so far that in your 15 sentences that when you make a pronoun of the blue, you're going to go j'y pense. Don't do that for a person. Yeah? I'm thinking about when I last saw him. Yes, that's fine. That's a situation. J'y pense. I'm thinking about him. Avoid, I'll talk about this again, but I'm going to run out of battery. Avoid on and e if you can for people until I've explained things a little bit. So I'm talking about him. I think about him. Je pense à lui rather than j'y pense for a human being. All right. Again, the second one, the guy I'm thinking of. Now, you're safe here because all the way through we've talked about Auntie Lukey's 5-point star, qui for a person, lequel, laquelle, lesquels, lesquels. So I'm thinking about him, the guy I'm thinking of, le mec à qui je pense. We are trained and ready like poised, supple, flexible ninjas, aren't we? We have been doing qui along the way with the preposition. So the guy I work for, rather than, you know, la société pour laquelle, le mec pour qui je travaille. So we've done that one. So the 3 blues have done that. Then we get into the question ones. Who are you thinking of? Tu penses à qui? So we're taking our à quoi, I think I said our twice. We're taking our à quoi and we're swapping it for à qui. Yeah, à qui? Je pense, tu penses à qui? Who are you thinking of? I know who you're thinking of. So I know what you're thinking of. Alors moi je sais ce à quoi tu penses. You'll also hear slang words je sais à quoi tu penses. I know who you're thinking of. Moi, je sais à qui tu penses. I know to whom you're thinking. So in other words, let's go through again with 3 different examples of using qui as people. But can you see how it's going to change from our basic 15? So let's do another verb. So I love him. Let's say I love the guy. J'aime le mec. I love him. Je l'aime. It's going to work the same as the normal red. The guy that I love, le mec que j'aime. It's going to work the same as the normal. As the normal green. Who do you love? No qu'est-ce que. Not like my normal 15. Qui est-ce que tu aimes? Tu aimes qui? Be more common, be easy to say. Mais tu aimes qui? I know who you love. Alors moi je sais qui tu aimes. Moi je sais la personne que tu aimes. Or je connais, as in I know personally the person that you know rather than I know the facts. Let's go on to red. Let's use s'occuper de. So I'm looking after him. So je m'occupe de lui. Yeah, there's no je m'en occupe for a person. Not a fan. Je m'occupe de lui. I'll talk about that in another video, but this will do for now. Je m'occupe de lui. The guy you're looking after. Le mec dont tu t'occupes. You can use the de as a dont reversed there because your de is not a from. So if we've thought about 2 main exceptions as when you're using de with as from, and your other set of exceptions as when you're using people rather than non-people, in that middle one of red, it's still going to work the same with the dont as long as you're not using from. So for example, the guy I'm looking after, le mec dont je m'occupe. So what gives you the difference between the don family and the de 5-point star family is whether or not de means from. It isn't whether or not it's a human. Who are you looking after? Tu t'occupes de qui? Once again, we'll bring back in the qui. I know who you're looking after. Alors moi je sais de qui tu t'occupes. So we're kind of bouncing in and out of using our original 15 sentences, aren't we? Yeah, quite an advanced video. Let's go to the blue one. Let's use another verb. So let's say, let's use, I'm on 1%. Guys, there's going to have to be a part 2. I'm on 1%. Hang on, I'll do this right again.